This episode of The Know with Nikki Spo is brought to you by Pillowcube. All right, listeners, the cat is out of the bag. I am having a baby girl. And just as I was about to dust off my 4-year-old pregnancy pillow, I learned about Pillowcube's Kneesy pillow. OMG, what a game changer. It's a knee pillow. It's honestly the best thing since my Pillowcube sidekick, I'd say. Stay tuned for more info on Pillowcube and check out why you should use my code NikkiSpo10 to purchase yours today. Thanks to sanaskinstudio for supporting the No podcast. Sana is a skin studio that is shifting the relationship with your skin and your products through goal-driven facials, real guidance, and clean skincare. Stay tuned for our promo code so you can receive $25 off of your first facial at Sana Skin Studio. Welcome to the No Podcast with me, Nikki Spo. What is up, my friends? You are listening to the No with me, Nikki Spo. Thanks for tuning in today. Today we're talking about a rather taboo topic, I guess. You know, I love to go there on these taboo topics. Today we're going to be talking about women's libidos, all right? I don't know why society makes it a taboo topic. It shouldn't be one. It's part of women's health. And I'm so excited to have Dr. Renee Wellenstein on board today. Dr. Renee is a double board certified doctor who has been working with women for over 20 years. And due to her own personal health challenges, she stepped outside of the box of conventional medicine to take a radically different approach to heal herself from the deep depths of burnout. And we've all been there, right? About a decade ago, Dr. Renee was living what she thought was her dream life. She was an extremely busy OBGYN, married to a doctor with toddler twins, and had moved to a quaint, quiet town in the country. One day in May 2012, Dr. Renee fell off of her horse during a riding lesson and broke her back. She not only struggled with severe back pain, but with fatigue and the inability to focus. 2 years after her injury, Dr. Renee was still struggling with unexplained symptoms. After exhausting all of her options in the conventional healthcare system, she was put in contact with a doctor who was a, quote, anti-aging practitioner, all right? She finally received the appropriate diagnosis. Her symptoms resolved and she got back on her feet and joined the world of functional medicine. In August 2019, Dr. Renee started Caspira Elite Health Consulting LLC. Throughout her journey, she has certainly faced her fair share of obstacles and has mastered the art of leaping into transitions with each pivot. Now, Dr. Renee empowers women to take control of their health, jumpstart their energy, improve their confidence, and reignite their libido. I can't wait for us to get started with Dr. Renee Wellenstein. Here we go. Dr. Renee Wellenstein, I am so excited to speak with you today. I love rocking the boat and talking about taboo things in regards to marriage, intimacy, divorce, dating, and all kinds of mental health healing topics. So I am 1,000 times thrilled to chat with you today about women's health as it pertains to our libido. So thank you for being on the show.
Thank you for having me. This is going to be so much fun.
You've always been, in tune, right, with women and their bodies from a conventional standpoint. In your previous world, you were a successful OBGYN. And from what I remember about your call, you really loved that.
I did love that. And, I would still be doing it to this day if it weren't for an injury almost 10 years ago in May, that sort of threw a little wrench in the story and caused me to pivot and, into the field that I'm in now. But it was just definitely not planned. My plan was train as an OBGYN and die as an OBGYN practicing conventional gynecology.
And so what about your injury? How did that happen? And I have so many questions around it, how it affected you in your work and your overall mental health. Because I know that depression was part of your story too, or that's what you were diagnosed with, whether that is accurate or not, we can talk about.
Yeah. So I trained down in Connecticut, a suburb of New York City, met my husband. We had 2 beautiful kids, I had twins. And, life was just a little crazy down there. It was great as a single woman and then a newly married couple. But once we brought our kids into the world, I'm like, okay, busy OBGYN and my husband's a physician. Like, let's move to the country. So we
Yeah.
moved to the country about 3.5 hours from where we were residing and kind of back home into my neck of the woods. And of course, this farm girl, because my dad was a dairy farmer. What do you do
Oh,
when you move?
cool.
Yeah, yeah. Move to the country, you get a horse. So the horse that I had wanted since I was 7, and here I was 39 getting a horse. So I got that horse and I shortly after fell off the horse and broke my back. Up until then, I thought I was living the storybook life. Like here I was, a successful gynecologist, married, had 2 beautiful kids, so blessed by having them. And I was really working crazy hours though. My life was pretty crazy between trying to raise, at that point, infant twins and trying to juggle being up every other night, delivering other women's babies and trying to keep the house going. And so when I broke my back, it was literally I was going 150 miles an hour to like 0. Like I was actually in reverse for a little bit there. And the next 2 years was a really interesting journey for me on both a physical and mental health level. Physically, I was completely out of work for 6 months, and mentally that tore me up because as a physician, and I literally just got off the call with another OBGYN who was just like me in my past. We are so type A driven, and if we're not working and doing, we're why are we here? Like, what are we doing on this earth? And so the fact that I was having to sit still for 6 months really was wreaking havoc on my head. I was not feeling worthy. I didn't feel like I felt so guilty. I, shame myself every day. Why aren't you at the office? Why aren't you, delivering those babies? And so I was really doing a job on myself for that 6 months. But I also, was giving some unrealistic prognoses over that 6 months of, you should be back to work in 6 weeks. And I wasn't. So why wasn't I better? And I'm a failure already. I never failed up until this point. Like I always excelled and you don't get through medical school failing lots of tests, like you have to do well. So I didn't know what it was like up until then to fail. And here's my first time failing at 6 weeks post injury. I wasn't back to work. I'm like, "My gosh, what is going on with me?" So, fast forward a year and a half later, whereby now I did get back to work at 6 months, but my scope of practice was limited. I could no longer deliver the babies. I couldn't operate anymore. And that really took a blow to my ego as a doc. This is what I trained to do. And now I can't do it anymore. And I really had to put my ego aside because physically I just couldn't do it. And I was not going to harm a baby or a mama's life just because that was my training, So I put that aside and I just would show up to the office to do pap smears. And what evolved over the next year or so was the fact that I couldn't get out of bed in the morning. And I attribute a little bit of that to the fact that I didn't feel like I had life purpose anymore. I did not feel like I was changing women's lives, which is what I truthfully I went into medicine for.
So
I'm
I was going to ask you that. Like,
mhm.
what made you even want to go into like gynecology specifically?
Well, I love it's a happy field generally. Like you deliver the babies, that's happy.
Mm,
You operate on a woman, take her, her menstrual problems away. Hey, that's
mhm.
happy. You're making her. So it's generally a happy field. Like I toured, quote unquote, toured a lot of different fields in medical school, and I loved elderly people, but I don't like dying. I don't like death. I know it's inevitable, but it's not something that I wanted to deal with on a daily basis or having those kind of conversations with families. So I just wanted a generally happy field where I'd go in every day. Everyone is happy to have a baby or happy that they're going to feel better at the end of a
Mhm.
surgery. And um, I really connected with women. Obviously more so than men. I mean, I connect with men, but the women, I'm a woman. I just had this
Yeah.
different. I'm an empath. I feel them. I hear them. I feel them. I didn't know that back then, but now I can say that.
How did you not know it back then?
I was not present enough in my mind and body to really feel. I was a doer. I was very concrete, scientific, like, let me learn the algorithms, the protocols, and just, kind of robotic, essentially. Medicine's very robotic. Versus how I am now, I actually really I feel a woman's energy. I can feel her, even across a Zoom call or, a podcast, I can feel a woman, and I just can connect with her
Can you feel
because
me?
I can feel you.
I love that.
I
I
love
hope
your
it's good.
energy.
I hope it's good.
I love your energy, and
Yay.
that's the thing. That's how I mean, even when we talked before this recording, like I felt even on the phone, like I can feel the energy. I know who I want to connect with
Yeah.
moving forward. So that is really something that was lacking though after my injury is that I just wasn't making that life transformation for women. Pap smears, yeah, it's a necessary thing that women have to go through, but it just, a woman doesn't leave the gynecologist's office getting a pap smear going, "Oh my God, you changed my life."
Right.
So there was that was lacking in the morning when, I couldn't get out of bed and I still had some physical symptoms, including my back issues, but I also started to get these other symptoms like, again, couldn't get out of bed. And I attributed a lot of it to the lack of purpose, but like terrible cravings, really poor food choices. I was gaining weight. And about the year mark for my injury, I remember saying to my husband in bed one night, I can't go on living like this.
Mm.
And I didn't have a plan, but the fact that I had 2 young children in the bedrooms next door to me, and here I am laying in bed with my husband thinking that I no longer want to live, I need help.
Yeah.
I need help. And at this point, even I was very secluded. I isolated myself from my community. I live in a small community. I felt like everyone was talking about me. Everyone was talking about the fact that I, didn't fully recover, all these things. Like I was making all these stories up in my head.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, nobody could care less, but I thought everyone cared about
That's
my
how
life.
we operate, though. We think we're the center of everybody's
Yep,
else's story, and really, everybody's thinking about themselves,
correct.
unlike their own stories and what they're going through.
Yep, I know that now. I did not know that then. So if a
Because it
woman
doesn't feel that way when you're in the moment. It really doesn't feel that way because your world is falling apart. So, like, you feel the magnitude of that, and it's almost like how how can't anybody else feel my world falling apart? Like
Mhm,
this is so catastrophic or
mhm,
whatever. Like how can't you feel it, right? And it
mhm.
takes a lot to like really step outside of ourselves and like see it from the outside, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, and it took me a while to realize that people weren't focused on me, and, so I literally go to the grocery store, I come running back home and just stay in my house aside from the couple days a week I was working. And so, when it got to this point where I no longer wanted to live, I made an immediate appointment with my doctor and knowing darn well what she was gonna say the diagnosis was, but because I had already diagnosed myself, but I'm like, at this point, I just wanted to feel better. So I went in, I said, "I know you're gonna say depression. I just don't feel like this is what depression should feel like, but okay, give me the pills, please. I
Yeah.
just wanna feel
You're like, just
better.
make it stop.
Just make it stop,
Yeah.
and make me wanna get out of bed in the morning, make me wanna play with my kids, make me wanna eat better, make me, just give me that pill." And she did, but the pill didn't fix it. So I'm
Mm.
like, "Wait, I still have all these symptoms, plus then my libido was even worse. My weight gain was even more, my cravings were even greater, and I just didn't feel better." And so I did what every good patient does. I failed one pill, so I tried another. So this was like now 6 months later, and after I failed the second pill, same exact scenario, I was like, "There's something else going on." And then I felt so hopeless, like, "God, I'm gonna have to feel like this for the rest of my life," because that's essentially she's like, "What happens when your doc says, 'I don't know what else I can do?'" You're like, "Okay, I'm gonna have to live with this feeling of not wanna get out of bed, not wanna play with my young kids, gaining weight, feeling awful about myself, not having a relationship with my husband forevermore." I'm like, "Gosh." And so, ironically, right at this time, I was put in contact with a functional medicine doc, and it wasn't even for my health. I was at this point, I was so bored in my life. I was selling anti-aging skincare. I was doing network marketing. I was like, "Let me do something out of my comfort zone and fun." And so I actually contacted this woman late one night. I was sitting in bed where I always was with my computer propped open, and she hopped on the phone with me and was like, I sell my own skincare, so I don't need your skincare, but let's talk about you." And so we quickly got into what was going on with me. And literally within 5 minutes, she was like, I think you have this condition that back then we called adrenal fatigue. And I was like, "What the heck is that? Who's this woman I'm talking to?" But I'm like, "Let me Google it," as I'm talking to her.
I'm like, let me Google it while I'm talking to
Yeah,
you.
yeah, yeah. Well, all my symptoms popped up on the screen, and we don't really call it
Wow.
adrenal fatigue anymore. There's adrenal dysfunction, hypothalamic pituitary adrenal dysfunction. Like, there's big names for it, but essentially it's burnout. It's like
Mhm.
years and years of this really demanding profession compounded with a move with you know, twin babies, and then
Yeah.
boom, I fell off a horse and broke my back. And so I was staring at my symptoms on a screen, and part of me was like, "Oh my god, how did I not know this?" Like,
Yeah.
I have had all of this at this point, I was practicing 15 years. How did I not know this? And how many other women are out there with these same symptoms, not getting better with the depression meds that are starting to feel helpless and hopeless as well?
Yeah, right.
And so I was just baffled. And the fact that I was validated because up until this point, and I don't know how many of your listeners can feel like this that a struggle with something physical that they can't find an answer for. They feel like it's all in their head. And I was starting to feel like, God, you can't give me a pill for this. I must be making this up. And you, again, you start thinking people are thinking things about you, like you're making this up. You're a hypochondriac, you're this, you're that. Like we're so great at that as women, right? Like we're so great at like making us ourselves feel like such a failure and we're not good enough and all the things.
But Dr. Renee, like I'm hearing what you're saying, and like I could tell you, I have probably of my friends, I have more than 5 that struggle with PCOS.
Mhm.
And when I've listened to them speak about their symptoms and like their journeys before being diagnosed with PCOS and speaking with their functional health, their conventional medicine
Mhm.
doctors, it's like, I don't know what to tell you. Maybe just eat less sugar and work out more, and that's like the dialogue. And my friends have been saying, like, I work out 7 days a week. I literally don't have any carbs, any sugar, any this, any that. And I'm still gaining weight. Like, so what? Am I just supposed to sit here and let this continue to be my reality? I'm sure you cover this in the that falls into like a huge part. Like PCOS falls under functional health services that the practitioners provide services for.
Absolutely, absolutely, and, we focus just in even when I focus on libido, we just focus on the hormones, the female hormones, there's so much
Yeah.
more than that, like, they knock a lot of other things out of whack, and how's her thyroid, and how's her gut health, and how's her mental health, and her mindset, and all the things, there's so many things that, our mindset can actually add a huge stressor to our life that we just think, "Okay, we're not stressed about our job or finances, so we must not be stressed." No, when you wake up beating yourself up in the morning, like, I can't get pregnant or I can't have a regular period or I can't stop gaining weight. Like that is nonstop for women. Like you look at every piece of food and you're like, I can't eat that. I can't eat that. Like it's just this nonstop, we berate ourselves all day and feel like, oh, we're not good enough. We're not, we can't lose the weight. What are we doing wrong? We're never going to, it's this downward spiral that we get in. So when function from a functional medicine approach, you have to look at, yes, the female hormones are important, but there's so much more of a picture there than just those female hormones.
So, do you think that the world of standard medicine and conventional medicine and the mainstream medical society does a disservice to women in this way?
I do, but you know what? They don't know any better,
Right. It's like
unfortunately.
I was literally thinking the same thing. It's like they don't know what they don't know, right?
No, I was trained both ways, so I can say that so this is my revelation that one night, like, how did I not know this? Like,
Yeah, right.
I was angry. I was angry at what I
Sure.
had to go through, but I was also angry of, like, all these women that I'd seen that I was that same doc saying, "Oh, it must be depression, take the pill. Oh, it's not, it doesn't make you better. Oh, I don't know what to do." You're like, how many women walked out of my office over my 15 years, that same scenario? Or that's just one scenario, any other, like, PCOS, here's a birth control pill. Okay, go off the birth control pill, can't get pregnant. What else to do? I don't know. Go see an infertility specialist. No, there's so much more you can do. But I just didn't know what else to do. That's number 1. Number 2, I didn't have the time. Conventional docs are literally I would have 5 minutes with a patient. How do I give her any life-changing information in 5 minutes? I was always the doc running behind, so if your doctor runs behind, just know that they're probably getting a little more attention, and, literally with some women, it's just you have time to put your hand in your pocket, pull out your prescription pad, write a prescription pad. Now everything's electronic, now we type them, but back in the day, and she walks out with a prescription for a symptom, and I feel like I did my job in 5 minutes because she's walking out with something she wanted. I mean, this is so how we're conditioned, and that was me too. As a patient, I was conditioned, "Just give me the pill, make me feel better," right? Like, "I'm so tired of feeling this way, just make me feel better," and I think that's what happens with a lot of women, people in general, but I work with women, is like we get to the breaking point and like, "Just give us the pill," and when that pill doesn't work, now what? Like, now it's if I have to go the more alternative, non-conventional way of alternative medicine, functional medicine, it's gonna take a little bit longer, but now I've completely lost her because now she's 6 months further in after trying the pill. So, it's really hard, but, I feel like there's the time constraint on conventional docs. It's the lack of knowledge, especially with nutrition. I think they may get more nutrition training now, but I got like 45 minutes of training in medical school, and all of the nutrition knowledge I have now, I did on my own. And then number 3, if we can't fix it with a pill, we don't really know what to do. And that's kind of
That's wild. Isn't
mhm,
that wild?
which is why I was in such a tough spot back in the day with libido, because I didn't have that pill back then for libido. And anytime a woman would say, "I have no libido," I'm like, oh, I literally could feel myself like sinking in my chair, like, oh, what do I do now? You
What
know?
do I do?
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple pills out there now, but I still get droves of women in my messages and commenting on social media saying, like, I tried all the pills, they're just not working.
Oh my gosh. So I have a question about that. Do women of all ages experience this? Like, what are some of the key factors at play here when women present with low libido? Women of all ages experience it?
Yes. Yes, yes, yes. I think we again, here we go. We don't talk about it, number 1, but then we all think, "Oh, it's just for when you get to menopause." And I have to say, I've had so many menopausal women that have amazing libidos. It picks up after menopause. So, like, we're stereotyping women that it's an aging thing, and I have my 20-year-olds that come to me and or currently on social media commenting like, "I'm 18, I'm 20, I'm 24, no libido." And so, like, there and to say that it's just I'm trying to change the paradigm here to think, we are so quick because 'cause we're women and we're always called hormonal or emotional, that we blame our hormones for everything, including our libido, and you can't tell me that the thousands and thousands of women that are out there experiencing a low libido, I mean, not even that, beyond thousands, tens of thousands, because 'cause they're all finding me. I know they're all out there, and you can't tell me it's all hormonal. Some of them are on hormone replacement, or we won't the birth control pill definitely will affect your libido. It's a known look at the package side effects. Low libido is one of the side effects. But like all the other women out there that have tried the hormones haven't, and I love hormone replacement for menopausal women. I'm just gonna throw that out there. I think it's definitely got a place, but to think that hormone replacement for women, testosterone replacement for women, a magic little pill that you think that's gonna fix it all is we're women, we're complex, right? And not to say that in a disempowering way, that's an empowerment statement. Like, we are so much more than just our estrogen and progesterone. Like, we have so many facets, we're so deep, and we have to go in a deep level in order to get to really what is going on with a woman's desire, sexual desire.
Dr. Renee, I think you said something really important that like is literal, but it's also figurative, that women, we're so complex and we need to stop demonizing that complexity,
Mhm.
right? Or
Right.
shaming the complexity. Oh, it's so hard to figure it out. Like, oh, she's too difficult. Oh, how about like, wow, like I'm multifaceted and I like, if it's not one thing, then it has to be something else. And I'm not making this up.
That's my message, because I think when women hear, "Oh, we're so complex." "Oh, I'm so complex." Like, how many times in a day are we called difficult, complex, all those words, and, like, then they become who we are, like, in a negative way, and it's like, no, even with our periods, like, women, "Oh, I got my period." No, it's a beautiful thing. Like, you're cycling, you have a period, your hormones are doing their thing, like, that's a beautiful thing, versus that woman that's not getting her period, maybe wants to get pregnant or wants, like you said, the PCOS, wants to lose the weight, like, feel for her that she's not getting it, like we just again, we demonize so many of our feminine qualities in our biology. And I think we just really need to change that and start embracing the fact, yes, maybe we are more emotional. We are. Our brains are different than men. We are. Absolutely. We do have more complex hormones. They do vary in a 28-day-ish cycle, not 24 hours like a male hormone. Like, biologically, we're so different. I hate to say it, and if you have any male listeners, I'm sorry, but they're much more straightforward and non-complex. I've worked with both, and when we come to quote unquote "fixing men," much easier. Like, they're very straightforward. We have a lot of little twists and turns in our life, in our biology, in our mental health, or, our physical health, everything, our, spiritual, like, we are just different, and I think we need to respect that difference and give ourselves some grace that it might not be an overnight, quote, unquote, "fix," but we'll get there.
All right, let's take a break so I can tell you all about my favorite sleep product, Pillowcube. You've probably seen me posting and raving about my Pillowcube products. You guys, I am very serious when I say that I cannot sleep without my Pillowcube. I am a side sleeper, and I'm donezo with smashing 3 pillows together to find my comfy spot. I've got my Pillowcube now, and that is all I need. I even take the pillow on trips with me. The small Sidekick cube fits in my carry-on, and honestly, it's probably my most prized traveling essential. So as we gear up for summertime, and I know all my Miamians are trying to get out of this heat, I want to challenge you to take your Pillowcube with you, and yeah, you can thank me later. But since the news is out, I want to share about another Pillowcube product I've been using during my pregnancy, the Kneesy pillow. So it's not just for pregnant people, but I have to say, since I had kids, my hips have just never been the same, and I've had to sleep with a pillow between my knees, pregnant or not, for the last 4 years. Just as I was about to dust off my old and cumbersome pregnancy pillow, I received my Kneesy in the mail, and I haven't gone one sleep without it. The Kneesy keeps my hips aligned, and honestly, I've been sleeping even better. What a dream. I'm excited to share my code with you. You can get 10% off of your Pillowcube order by using my code NikkiSpo10. Head on over to pillowcube.com to get yours ASAP. You're welcome in advance. I want to take a minute to thank our sponsors, sanaskinstudio. The best way for me to describe Sana is that it feels like coming home. Unlike traditional facials, Sana's facials are rooted in education, and I love this so much. Every experience I've had at Sana has been a chance to learn more about my skin and its needs. I love that the facials are effective while also being accessible enough to be a monthly ritual rather than a yearly splurge. I'm honored to be able to provide our audience with a promo code. Use the code THENOGLOW for $25 off of your first facial at Sana when booking via sanaskinstudio.com. So, Dr. Renee, how has low libido for women become sort of like a rite of passage, and why is that thought process so dangerous? You mentioned, like menopause, like we think it's that low libido is reserved for menopausal women, when that's really not the case. And you see clients of all ages coming in for low libido. Why is it such a dangerous thought process to believe that this low libido is just a rite of passage?
We've been told that. We've been
Yeah.
told, how many women go to their doctor and say, "I've had kids. I don't have a libido." Oh, that's normal. Like when we
That's
normalize
normal. Oh
things,
my gosh.
right?
Yeah.
Or I
Yeah.
have high stress, I don't have a libido. That's normal. Okay, what are we gonna
Mhm.
do about it, right? Or I'm menopause, I have a low libido. That's normal. There's no solution given. So when we normalize things, it's like, okay, it's inevitable. I'm just gonna have to go through it. Right? So, like, we're start waiting for that day that we wake up and we think we wake up and there's no libido and versus like it's been happening for a long time. We're just women doing, not living present in our bodies to realize it's slipping away, as well as other things in our health are probably slipping away as well. We're just not realizing it until our husband one night says, "Oh, honey, let's go to the bedroom." And you're like, "Yeah, no, And they're like, "Oh, wait." And he makes a comment or he starts calling you out that you don't want to be intimate or something gets put on your radar that all of a sudden you're like, "Oh, yeah, wow, I don't want to be intimate and why?" Right? And then again, there we go again. There we go pointing the finger back at us like what's wrong with us? Like, he says go and I hear this, so I can say this. Go to your doctor, get testosterone, get hormones, go figure out, go get a pill for it. Go get a pill for it. There are lots of pills for men that work very well because they have very different biology and very different things that are failing, quote unquote, at their level, whether it be erectile dysfunction or a deficiency in their male hormone. We're not like that. Like generally women don't have an erectile disorder. Like we just, we might have a lubrication issue, but like why?
No,
Like
but
really?
so seriously, why, Dr. Renee? Like, why? So why are these things happening? What are some of the other reasons? Like, if it's
Yeah.
not hormonal, like, what are some of these other reasons that, like, okay, and I'm going to share like a personal tidbit. I had been on antidepressants for a long time, and especially after the birth of my kids. And I hit that moment where I was like, no, thanks. I'm like, no, not in the mood. And I don't even know that I was saying no thanks, but it was like an internal thing. Cause I was like, I know objectively, like my mind and my heart want like intimate time, but like my body was like, no, thanks. Right. So I remember that being a thought process in my head that I never even wanted to like share. I just like put the smile on and like went through the motions. sometimes. You know what I remember thinking like, why is this happening? Like, what? That is so unlike me. It's unlike me. That's so odd. That turned out to be, like the antidepressant that I was on, and I was able to switch the pill, and that was that for me, that was an easy shift. But like for the women who are not on other medications or whatever, like that the libido is a side effect, low libido is a side effect of a certain medication. Like, what are the other lifestyle, mental factors that are contributing to low libido in women of all ages?
Yeah, I love how you point out there are definitely some medications that it's like the zebra in the room. Like if a woman gets on the phone, she's on the birth control pill, she's on an antidepressant, she's on even some blood pressure medications, even like medic over the counter medications for like allergies and reflux or heartburn can actually do that too. And like we don't like they're over the counter. They must be safe. No, there's side effects. But
We don't even think about that. Like,
Mhm.
I know I'm like, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but like we don't even think about it. I'm like, if I look at something and it says low libido, I'm like, nah. I'm like, no. I like
Well,
literally will look at it and be like, not me.
we are so willing to accept side effects. For instance, I'll just add this and then we'll get into it. But I don't watch a lot of television. But once in a while, I'll get my nails done and I'll be watching a commercial. And on the commercial, it'll say, oh, take this for your, I don't know, your irritable bowel. Side effects include death. Death. How many people hear that? Like, I mean, maybe it's not that particular, whatever that pill is, but like, there's so many medications out there that they will on an advertisement say death is a potential. And people are blood clots, and people are like, "Yeah, just give me the pill so I don't have my irritable bowel or my acid reflux or any." I was like, willing to take on all these potential side effects just to get rid of that bothering symptom. And I get it, but like, how much further could we get along if we just figure out the why behind having that? But let's get back to your question. Like some of the other, a big one for women, stress. Yes, stress is a big one that can affect a woman's libido, but more so in that there's the actual stress, but like the things leading up to her getting incredibly stressed, including the fact that, there's so many women out there, especially post pandemic, that are like, it was bad before the pandemic, but they're doing it all. They're like, and they're doing it all, one, because they feel like they have to. But they have to prove they're good enough or they're worthy or all the things. They don't wanna ask for help. They don't wanna feel like a failure. Like, this is so much conditioning as women that we have from maybe our younger years or maybe our profession.
I mean, but that's generational too, right, Dr. Renee? Like we learned that from our mothers and our grandmothers and our aunts and our, the women in our lives that we see come before us.
Yeah, absolutely, and so
We see
then
it modeled on TV. We see it modeled in movies. We see it modeled in love stories. Everywhere.
like, we're talking about like, the everyday stressors of, like, again, pandemic, kids,
Yeah.
virtual schooling, maybe moving businesses online, maybe losing your job, like, all of that stressor, but, like, also all the doing, like, keeping the household going the grocery shopping and making the dinners and cleaning the house. Oh, and maybe having a business and, oh, making sure the kids get their homework done or little ones get their baths, and, like, we wonder why we're falling into bed at night. We're wondering, and why we are so tired, we don't even you can't even think about it because to think about being intimate is just takes too much energy, you know, too much energy, and so, like, part of this is, yes, we have and I'm not here to ever I can't take a woman's stress away, right? What I'm here to do is, like, okay, how are we gonna manage the stress? But not only that, how are we going to give you more time? Because so many women have lost themselves. Again, I just got off the phone with a woman, completely lost herself. She doesn't even know who she is anymore, and it's all because of mom, profession, and that mentality of, like, having to do it all, it's expected, and not asking for help because her partner, her husband is also very busy. And, my feeling is, like, we're a partnership, especially if you have a partner that can help. Like, we're a partnership. We both whether it be a stay-at-home mom, and I'm not berating like, if you don't have an outside of the house job or even a whatever, that's still a job. Taking care of kids, cleaning the house, that's a job, and it's a job that still needs a break. Like, just because I think so many women, "Oh, I'm just a stay-at-home mom. I have to do it all. I can't ask my partner for help when he comes to the door." No, you can, absolutely, and you should. I'm not for shoulding, but, like, I give you permission to do that, and so, like, that part of that's that just that getting over that superwoman mentality. Yes, we're all superwomen, but is it serving you? And if you're falling into bed at night and you're not getting your trophy for the day's work, it's not serving you. And this is time for you to ask for some help. So, I always talk about my ABC method, like the A's, like stress awareness. Like, It doesn't serve us to just run around. I'm stressed. I'm stressed about what? Like once we start quantifying, like being present enough and bringing awareness to what is stressing us out, that's the only time that we can actually start taking action to work on that. B is boundaries. No is a complete sentence. You can say no. Don't worry about not being liked or what people are going to say or being judged. Like say no. Protect your sanity, your mental health, your physical health above all else. And number 3 is the communication. Where can you ask for help? It is not a failure as women for us to ask for help. I'm sorry. Like it is, you don't have to do it all. And I always talk about my 4Ds. Like in a day, like what do you have to do? What can nobody else do but only you? What can you delegate? What can you ask your partner, your kids, maybe a friend, another mom, maybe a coworker? What can they do to help you? What can you completely take off your list? We as women are so big on creating our to-do list of 50,000 things that we know we can only get 3 done. Like, what is it that doesn't even belong in that list?
So are we
And
calling that delete?
that's delete. And my 4 is what can you delay? So
Delay.
meaning like it has to get done, but not today.
Okay.
So what do you have to do? What can you delegate to ask others to help you with? What can you completely delete off your list? And what can you delay? And the other thing I'd like to say to women is like, start trying with doing the ABC method and starting to get a little bit of help. Start trying to find yourself again. What brings you joy? What do you love? And try to do a little bit of that every day, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, whether that go for a walk, read a book, go do a workout, just 20 minute workouts on YouTube, you know, meditate if that's your thing. It's not for everyone. I know I love meditating, but it's not for everyone. Maybe it's just sitting still for 10 minutes, 20 minutes, like, or more, maybe just sitting still to figure out, like getting quiet enough to figure out what is it that you used to love to do so you can bring it back into your life. Because truly, women that feel super stressed that they're the ones doing it all, at the end of the day, feel frustrated, angry, and resentful towards their partner. And they not only energetically don't want to be intimate. Anyone who has that feeling of resentment, anger, frustration, you're going to tell me you're going to want to be intimate with your partner? No. You're going to be like, you don't help me. I'm not going to, I don't, it's not like a tit for tat. No, not at all. But I am all for women mentally wanting to be in the room with their partner and be intimate,
Yeah.
not like doing it out of obligation.
Totally.
Right. So if
Totally.
you remove that anger, that frustration, that resentment, you feel like you have a partner in life, in your relationship on all levels, you're going to want to show up in that bedroom with him, not for him, with him.
How does our mindset factor into all of this? Like low libido is really in play way before we even get to the bedroom, right?
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. And so partly it's that having to prove ourselves like that.
Yeah.
It's interesting what I do with functional medicine. Everything's so intertwined. Like we can pluck out mindset, but like where does that play in? So yes, not feeling like we're not good enough and that we're not worthy. We have to prove ourselves, which further stresses us out. But then we have the other side of like, okay, we don't feel comfortable in our body. We don't like how we look. We Every woman I talk to doesn't like something about herself, right? And it's usually not about neck up. It's about like shoulders down, something there. So she doesn't want to be seen naked. She doesn't want to be touched. She doesn't, she wears the baggy clothes. She doesn't want to be seen with the lights on, so therefore she either avoids the bedroom altogether, doesn't let him or her touch her, or, or avoids it altogether, intimacy that is, because of how she feels about herself. And she always puts this like when I lose weight or when I get to this certain number on the scale or I will want it. And it's, I'd love to tell women to feel like embrace the body you're in now. And I'm all for if you want to lose weight, that's a great journey, but like enjoy the journey and try to love your body on that journey because our body hears how we talk to it. Our body hears when you wake up, oh, look at that big butt. Look at those thighs. Our body hears it. How about like, oh my gosh, look at these amazing legs that hold me up every day and allow me to walk when some people can't walk, or the arms that allow me to do my hair or pick up my baby or, just something about our bodies that we love, and the fact that it's keeping us healthy throughout a global pandemic, like just, again, love your body on that journey of being where you want it to be, but love it where it is now.
So it really is an inside job. Like a
It
lot of
is.
what I'm hearing is like, but in every way, right? I mean, like obviously there are going to be like medical issues and there's like legitimate medical things that are going on that need to be treated. And sometimes that does require a pill, right? Like, I
Correct.
think that medicine is fascinating. Like, I really do. I think that like herbal medicine and scientific medicine, like, I just think all of it is so fascinating, but I think that the power of our mind is equally fascinating. And it has tremendous power over our bodies. I've been meaning to read a book. Everybody talks about it. It's like the body keeps a score. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know if you've read it, but it's like, that's like on my list of books to read, because without even reading it, I'm like, oh my gosh, my body is keeping score of what's going
Mm-hmm.
on in my soul and my inside and my mind and like my every day to day. And my body's keeping track of that stuff and saying like, all right, like you don't want to slow down. I'm going to slow you down.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Or, like you're having anxiety, I'm going to, whatever. Like, I feel very strongly that my body definitely knows like what's up with my
Mm-hmm.
insides.
And you just have to be present enough to hear that. So many women, we don't listen to our bodies, right? We don't listen to the messages they're sending us because we're so busy. We're just doing. We're so busy. And I just encourage your listeners to slow down enough to hear what your body's saying. And the mindset component, this is why I incorporate it in my work now, because I've worked with women now over 20 years. I've seen a lot of success stories and a lot of women that fall back to the way they quote unquote were, like failed, went backwards, whatever you want to call it. And I find like you can give all the pills in the world. And I agree. I do love conventional medicine. There's definitely a place for pills for many things. And we wouldn't be here today without pills for certain things. But I think when we try to cover up symptoms with just pills and we don't work on what is going in, and sometimes you need the pill to get over the hump and then work on the deeper, whether it be physical and mental work behind getting better, feeling better. Um, but you go off that pill, if you don't work on the inner things and with some of the conditions, it's going to be there as soon as you come off. And the other thing being said, you can, even from a functional medicine perspective, work on cleaning up your nutrition, which is super important for libido. You know, detoxing, kind of
And
getting rid.
nobody wants to hear that, by the way, Dr. Renee.
I know.
Like we don't want to hear that, like the nutrition. Okay, maybe not we. I'll take responsibility. I don't want to hear it's my nutrition. I want to have the pizza and I want to have the junk. You know what I mean?
And you can have that, but just not
Right.
all the time. Like, right. I'm all for, I used to be a lot harder. And I was just having this conversation. I used to be a lot harder with how I work with women because that's used to be my personality, like all or none. Like, that's not how we thrive. We don't thrive in an all or none. We thrive in a moderation. Like, okay, maybe not every day. And just really starting, I think we've also demonized healthy food of like, because people think they have to choose between unhealthy and healthy, whatever that is. I think it has to be more of a spectrum. Like, okay, this is a better choice for most days of the week, and once in a while, I'm going to have the pizza, right? And freaking enjoy it. Like, if you're going to guilt yourself the whole time you're eating that pizza, please put it down. Your body hears. I want you to moan when you're eating that pizza. Like, I want you to truly enjoy it and be like, I love that pizza, but now tomorrow I want a salad, or I want a smoothie, or I don't know, something. And so I do think I don't think, and again, that's another stereotype of like being healthy. You can't eat any packaged processed food. You can't have any sugar. We just don't thrive in that kind of environment, or we survive for a short period of time, but then we obsess and we count the minutes so we can have X, Y, or Z, or we completely fall off and binge, and all of these things can happen. And it's just not, I'm here to give women sustainable, lifelong, tangible tools and tips on how to improve their libido, their overall health and wellness, and their mental health and their mindset. So, and an integral to all of this, again, like is kind of where it started, is what's going on up in your head about how you feel about yourself, how you feel about your relationship, your partner, just all those little thoughts that go through your head. Like, what's going on in that little head of yours, and are you present enough to hear it? Right? Like, there's just we have so many things in our head on this repeat that we don't even know is on repeat because they're so just ingrained in us.
So I think it's really empowering that we can have this conversation, Dr. Renee, and hopefully help women like take a look at women's health from a different lens, and including libido in that conversation. I think that this is a really great preliminary start for our listeners to like really start paying attention and creating that awareness within themselves of how they want to be feeling with their partners inside their own, like with themselves inside their own bodies and in the bedroom across the board.
It starts with her. It starts with her. And, it will radiate out. It will radiate out into your relationships, your intimate relationships, your relationship at work, your success in life and business, all of it. Like, it starts with you, your health, your wellness, mind, body, spirit.
Thank you so much, Dr. Renee.
Thank you.
Big thank you to our sponsor, Pillowcube, for presenting today's episode of The Know with Nikki Spo. Head on over to pillowcube.com and use my code NikkiSpo10 for 10% off of your next Pillowcube purchase. The Sidekick Cube is my personal favorite, but if you're all stocked up on your side sleeper pillows, I highly recommend you give the Kneesy pillow a try. You will not regret it. Oh, and don't forget to use my code NikkiSpo10 for your 10% discount. More than a skin studio, Sana is a movement towards healthier skin and self-love. Be sure to use my code THEKNOGLOW for $25 off of your first facial at Sana when booking via sanaskinstudio.com. Thank you so much for listening to The Know. If you loved this episode, go ahead and share it with a friend. Words are so powerful, and someone may need to hear what we covered today. And if you really loved this episode, please take a moment to rate the show and leave a review. Your comments are so important and valued, and they give other listeners insight on what to expect on The Know. You can connect with me personally via Instagram at NikkiSapSpo and The Know with Nikki Spo. My hope for you today is that you are fearless in looking inward so that you can be your highest, most authentic self and go after the life of your dreams.